I bought this shirt a couple of years ago and it cost me $30. Do you think this is a fair price? Well, and if I tell you that this is 30 times more than the salary that the Cambodian tailor who has made it earns per day, well, this is happening because most of the fashion brands are outsourcing their production to Asian countries. Yes, and they are earning just $150 per day, per month. $150 per month. Imagine what you can do with that. You can't even afford to pay your rent with doing overtime hours from 8 to 12 hours a day and earning just $150 per day. That means that they can afford just 5 of these shirts per month. So my goal today is to make you to think about, every time you shop, you do some shopping or you buy some clothes, to think about the people who are behind that clothes, the tailors who works in factories. So in the first point, we're going to talk about this new practice in the clothing industry, outsourcing, and on the other hand, in a second point, we will focus into the main consequences of this, which are exploitation and environmental pollution. Well, I want to start with the definition of outsourcing. So, when a company purchases parts or finished products from another company, or even use outside workers to the manufacturing process, we can speak about outsourcing. The clothing industry outsources mostly in China and in Asia. In fact, they started outsourcing their products in China because the labor force and the price of the fabrics were lower, but 3 decades later they are starting outsourcing everything to Asia just because of the prices. As you can see here in this table, this figure, okay, which belongs to the A.T. Kearney analysis from 2003, we can see the difference in the labor costs. All right, so made in China, we can find that the price of a t-shirt is between 199 cents, all right, and in the rest, in Bangladesh, Cambodia, Pakistan, India, is much lower. And that's the reason the outsourcing is moving to China, from China, to the Asian countries. So you may wonder if your favorite apparel brand is using the outsourcing, and the answer will be likely yes. Mango, Nike, Adidas, H&M, all of these brands are outsourcing the production. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to speak about the case of Zara, because I'm Spanish and I know this very well. Zara is a well-known fashion brand, and its owner, Amancio Ortega, is the second richest man in the world, just behind Bill Gates. Zara outsources around 75% of its production, 45% just in Asian countries, and just in Bangladesh there are more than 220,000 people working for Zara. And this is just to reduce costs. Outsourcing just works to make costs down and increase the money, to take advantages of the labor costs of other countries. And on the other hand, we're going to talk about as well the unwanted consequences of outsourcing. Well, on one hand, exploitation, yes? Outsourcing in the third world leads directly to this problem, and it's estimated that 90% of the clothing factory workers are women. 3 out of 5, they don't have any contract or social security. But what is more, an estimated 2,050 million of children between 5 and 14 years old, they are working in the sweat shops, all right? Sweat shops not only in Asia or China or India, but also in the United States or even in Europe. More statistics. In Bangladesh, the average worker's hourly wage is just 13 cents, the lowest in the world. In Vietnam is 26 cents of dollar. In Asia, children as young as 5 work from 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. for less than 20 cents per day. And a shirt which costs $60 in the United States can cost in labor just 10 cents. In India, between 5% and 30% of the 340 million children are under 16 years old are estimated to fall under the definition of child labor. So this is a hard problem. all right, to deal with. Now, if we have a look at the risk in global clothing supply, we can see here that fire safety, overtime works, worked machinery, building maintenance are the main problems, and they can cost lives. Maybe you remember that in Bangladesh in 2004 there was an accident, a building collapsed, and there were 64 workers died there. But not only we're talking about exploitation and forced labor, we're talking about an environmental problem as well, because this is something that maybe you never hear in the media or in the news, but in the first decade of this century, the carbon dioxide and the other gases that pollute the atmosphere have grown twice as fast than in the last 3 decades previous, the last 20. The explanation can be found in the burning coal, using generally to power factories in China, in Asia, and in India. So nowadays, in these countries, it is produced around 14 gigatons a year, and just two of these gigatons, they are a consequence of making goods for export. Also, the CO2 emissions from fossil fuel combustion represents a very serious warning for our planet. As a result, according to this report, a report of the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, China, India and the Asian countries who produce this clothing produce more carbon pollution than Europe and United States together. And now I'm going to read you a sentence saying of Cynthia Camis, who is an expert on greenhouse gas in the World Resources Institute. And she says, we need to understand the full life cycle of all goods and services that we are purchasing and selling. The consumers that are importing those goods have some responsibility for those goods that are happening outside our boundaries. So, after hearing all this, I want you to think twice before go shopping and buy some clothes. Why? Because earning $150 per day can't be just fair for everyone. Think again, what can you afford with that money? So, giving another opportunity, facing the problem in other way, it's everything that we can do, and it's strong point, right, to change how companies and governments think about this and the lack of regulations, all right? So it's just because not only the companies are responsible or the governments, we are responsible too, all right? It's a humanity problem, all right? So a new way of facing this problem will help us to change the purchasing habits, the way the world see outsourcing and exploitation workers and this environmental pollution who is related, and I'm sure that we can make a difference with that.